Hello, and thanks for joining us on another Kerfuffle Supplier Spotlight. And today we're going to give you an introduction to Hello Mortgage. We're going to be talking to Keith Ahmed. He's my guest today. Hi, Keith. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Keith, there are loads of mortgage platforms and products and brokers out there. Yours is a little bit different in that you've leveraged technology to bring about time efficiencies, where in some markets and in some situations, every minute counts. So tell us a little bit about what makes your services unique.
Yeah, so we're a little bit different. So, like you said, every broker has access to every product. They're all the same. We'll all say they're intermediary only, but we all fish from the same pond. But I think what makes people a little bit different, or what makes us particularly different, is the way that you deal with that client, the way you onboard them, and then how you kind of quickly get them to a stage of mortgage ready to let the agent know to keep the chain free. And that's where we're kind of different. So we have a really intensive onboarding journey with the client. We use different apps to gather electronic signature, electronic ID. We use open banking. We use credit soft searches or hard searches, depending on what type of application it is, which just means that when an agent comes to us to dip a client, the dip they're getting is already halfway through an FMA process. So the chances of failure are a lot less.
Right.
That also means that rather than waiting for the client to sign terms of business, turn up with their ID, do all that traditional way, we've got all that info, we've bank scraped it, we've assessed it, we've done our underwriting checks on it, and then we've done a multiple hit with lenders to get more than one dip. So we'll know if the first one comes up with Barclays, for example, and Barclays are going to lend the most, but the criteria says it kind of mightn't fit. We know that the next one down might be a little bit less or might be a little bit more work, but it fits on criteria. So we give an agent a red, amber, green report based on the client, which just tells that agent green, absolutely 100% this client will go. Amber, a little bit quirky, it'll happen, but we'll have a few hoops to jump through. And red's just a don't let the viewing happen.
Well, because it's interesting you say that. I think that anybody who isn't an agent won't know how it feels to kind of be let down by the fact that not all dips are created equally, and there are some people. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, there's some websites that you can go to today and you can get a dip like that. It feels like we were back in 2007 where anybody with a heartbeat and a passport would get a mortgage. But and on those virtual systems, to say that a bank will in principle lend you XYZ, it's easy to do when you sat there sort of certifying it yourself. But open banking, scraping those details, that reveals a whole lot more than just those answers to the questions. And so really an agent can come to rely on that dip far more than they might do ordinarily.
Mhm. Well, we see it all the time. We see clients going onto these online portals, which, we all know who they are, but we won't name. They get a dip, which isn't a dip, it's a criteria match according to that provider. So it's not, it's had no way has a human assessed it. They take that to the agent, they book a viewing, put an offer in, and lo and behold, they can't get the deal. And we tend to get quite a few of those come our way. I've gone online, it said I could borrow 300 grand. I'm a self-employed taxi driver on furlough. And you think, what did you plug into that system to get that info? So
Yeah.
our onboarding journey cuts out all of the tire kickers because they just don't want to do it. And the second the client doesn't engage, they're hiding something.
So in terms of in all prop tech scenarios, we understand that the technology is fantastic and it gives us all efficiencies. But sometimes I think what scares us is when that human touch is removed, because that can make all the difference. But that's where Hello Mortgage are quite big on that your human interaction, if you like. Your background yourself, Keith, you started in accountancy, so you've got a well-versed background in terms of having a handle on the economics of any situation. and knowing what it takes these days in terms of bank criteria and getting the clients through. So surely that makes a lot of the difference.
Yeah, it does. I think we we market heavily that we're robots with a human touch because every part, everyone loves to say they're digital, everyone loves to say they're online and the journey's online and everything's tech, tech, tech. But we all know it's not. We all know there's still humans behind the computers having to process the data to get it through. So we just push that out there. So yes, you can do a tech journey, absolutely no problem. We'll provide that, but you're going to speak to it. You're going to see one Zoom. You're going to interact because we don't want to lose that human element of it. Because if you think most of them first time buyers for us at the minute 22 to 25 years old, biggest expense they've ever bought is a car and credit for 130 quid a month. You
Yeah,
know, suddenly they're buying houses for 200, 250K.
yeah,
And you just think, if you're doing that all online, how do you actually understand how much it's going to cost for a TV license? What about utility bills? Your water rates on, are
yeah.
different. And it's just, we offer that whole service with that digital tech journey. And we just kind of find for us that it works.
Yeah, no, it is a real sweet spot, I suppose, in
Mm.
getting those efficiencies, but leaving the human interaction in there.
Yeah.
I know a lot of brokers will talk about whole of market coverage that they can see every deal and so on, but we
Mm.
all know that there's certain parts of the market that are either hotter than others or more difficult than others.
Mm.
So, is there any particular area that your team specializes in more than another, and are you able to deal with most things that are thrown your way?
So as a sweet spot, the advisors that we got work specifically with first time buyers. First time buyers really the thing that we like to push because we do it well. Do you know, we get a lot of five-star reviews, have won awards for customer service and client care. So it's very it's kind of where we like to pitch. But like you mentioned before, I originally qualified as an accountant. So I left accountancy because I was just sick of everyone telling us I was wrong. Do you know? That can't be my tax bill. No, really, it is. You've earned it. You're going to have to pay for it. So then I thought, what shall I do? Well, I'll become an IFA, and I still get told I'm wrong. But it's just the way it goes. But because of that, we do a lot of portfolio landlords. We do a lot of commercial. We do a lot of complex lending, which isn't your standard two-person vanilla applicants all employed. Do you know? So we do cover full spectrum. So we'll hold a market as everybody is. Do you know? It's just that is what it is. But we specialize. So most people will come to us as a first-time buyer and go through Dan, Osman, or Simon. But those that are a little bit quirky, or those that have got complex requirement, will come
Yeah.
to me and Nicola. And we tend to deal with complex tax affairs, SPVs, portfolios. We tend to do that side of it.
And
So
does that also include adverse credit?
yeah,
Because you know that when I speak to certain buyers, um, there is a sense of anxiety that people get that they won't get that mortgage, that they're on that knife edge between sort of it going through and not. And I think the banks, certainly after 2008, their attitude towards anybody with even the most minor bits of adverse credit was extremely harsh back in those days.
yeah.
Is there a sense that things are sort of leveling out, that
No,
no?
if anything, it's a little bit more complex now. But I suppose where we differ to other brokers is we have the ability to take your credit report. So we can credit search you, we can see how bad it is, we can then advise what your kind of options are. But we do a fair whack of credit repair. So taking on a client who's not quite there, but if they wait 3 months to get the last three CCJs off their credit report because they've hit
Yeah,
7 years. We do that kind of service. So for an agent, we'll be going back and saying it's a red, chances are it's not going to go anywhere. But to the client, we'll say, well, he could go somewhere, not right now, but in 3 months' time. And this is what you need to do to fix it.
yeah,
So we keep the relationship with that client, but we've already seen just how ugly that credit report is. Do you know where most people will come in, give you a view, check my file from 6 months ago, and tell you it's absolutely fine, and you get all the way through the full mortgage application and find out, no, actually,
yeah.
it's too worse. But
It's
we did that check right at the start.
It's less than shiny.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got that award-winning first-time buyer service that obviously must be based on reviews that you've had in the past,
Yes.
and obviously we talked about the technology. So what can an agent expect to? What will their experience be once they come onto your platform? Do they get a login and are they able to sort of manage those applications?
They can, but that's not the real way that we like to work. So we're traditional in as much as all my brokers are trained to pick up the telephone. So yes, there's an online portal. So yes, the agent can log in, they get text updates or email updates to say something's happened. It doesn't actually mean anything. So what we normally say is that agent will get a call within an hour of the change from the broker that's assigned to their branch, and they'll actually have a verbal communication with that person, be brought up to date, and then it'll be followed up with an email. But we're very much, yes, we'll have a portal, but if you're using it, it's because we're failing you as a broker because we're not getting back to you quick enough. We're not giving you the right updates. So it is very, very human in that approach.
Yeah, well, I like that because I think that one of the things that we would encourage all our negotiators to do is to pick up the phone more. That there's so much that is lost in the electronic process, whether that's by email or just simply leaving it down to portals. I think it gives everybody a bit of reassurance when they hear another human being dealing with it on the line, and very often it leads to bits of detail that you would never normally pick up.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can hide behind a portal, do you know, because you can just quickly put something on to say no update. But if there's no update, phone them. Do you know,
Yeah.
phone the agent, speak to them. They'll get to know you. They'll get to know your voice. You'll get more work. Do you know? So we are all massively incentivized to do that human call rather than rely on the portal. But we do have it. We can give everyone access to it. Everyone can see it. But what they see versus what they're told, it'll be a lot more detail in the telling than the reading.
And I also understand that you guys have got a fairly decent work ethic. You're working all the time, pretty
Yes, we
much,
do.
as far as I can see.
Yes.
But and again, a lot of services sort of tend to stop at the end of the working day. You might be left sort of in a situation where either the client or the agent or all the chain is left with a bit of doubt, and it might help if you could get hold of somebody in the evening. So you are able to offer evening and weekend appointments as well.
We do. So we'll work very much on a rota. And what it tends to be is Simon, who does all our marketing internally, tends to work what we call the back shift.
Yeah.
So you tend to get after 9 o'clock at night, you tend to get an online service via web chat, which tends to be Simon. But you can book a call, a face to face call, or a Zoom call with an advisor up till 9 and from 7:30, all the way from Monday to Sunday. So it just makes us massively accessible to people. We used to offer later than 9, but you get a lot of weird people phoning you after 9. You know, so
Midnight mortgages, that's what it's all
it's
about.
not good. And obviously for local people, we still do home visits.
Yeah.
We'll still do that traditional approach again if that's what they want.
So just to sort of reiterate for anybody that's maybe just logging into this right now, the main USP, I suppose, is the speed element of it. So typically speaking, if I pick up the phone to you now and I say, look, I've got an applicant here that wants to put an offer in on a property, we as the agent and also my client, the vendor, we need to know where we stand with these guys. Are they good to go or not?
Mhm.
Um, what sort of timescale are we looking at
So
if
that
all is well?
Yeah, so that's governed really by the client. So if that client is engaged, which relies a bit on the agent having to sell that service before they come to us, if they're engaged and they sign, they download the app, they go through the process, that normally takes about 15, 20 minutes. It then takes about an hour for then a mortgage packager here to have a look at it, do the credit search, have a look through and issue the red, amber, green report to the agent. But in theory, you can have that report within an hour and a half to 2 hours telling you if that client is there not there, or don't waste your time. It can happen quicker, just depends on how many banking transactions they've got. And
That's pretty good going. So I do the viewing in the morning. By the afternoon, I can tell whether I'm wasting my time with these
yes,
guys or not. And that's all an agent really wants from a mortgage broker. Yes, we want somebody that's going to work tirelessly to try and get the deals through, which I understand you guys do want as well, because that's where we all get paid at the end of the day.
yes,
But it's also about, we've got another set of criteria these days. We need to be able to vet the people looking at the properties and to make sure that we're not just delivering false hope to the vendors. And I guess that is an invaluable service.
yeah. We do a little. It really, again, this depends on how the agent wants to work. They can, if they're booking in advance, so they're booking appointments, a couple of days in advance. If they send us that client as and when they're walking into the office or registering on the website, if they get us in front of them, we've then got a couple of days to sort it out, and it's not such a rush for that agent then. So they get
Yeah.
the report, they've got 24 hours to mull over it to decide whether or not they're actually going to accept it, or if they're going to push Mr. and Mrs. Smith through before they see these guys. So it really depends on when we get the info so that we can then start chasing the client.
And in terms of timing, in an estate agent's process of when they go out to see people,
Mhm.
um, when is the optimum time that they should be referring somebody to go and see a mortgage broker? Do you feel that it's, if I go out and value somebody's house today, they're thinking of selling, they may need to buy the next thing. It's really time there and then for them to sort of sit down and, yes,
Yeah.
I'll tell them how much their house may be worth, but
Mhm.
I can't tell them how much they could afford to borrow on the next move.
Yeah. So home movers, it's kind of at the point that they've walked into the house and they're selling their own service. We would normally then say, ask if they've got mortgage advice. If they haven't, leave our brochure. Um, First time buyers are those walking into the branch. It's really as and when they're there. So we provide a lot of marketing. They get access to Simon, who's our in-house graphic designer. There's a lot of co-branded pamphlets, leaflets, flyers, web videos, website blogs and posts. We do a lot with that agent to co-brand it to make it
Yeah.
look like a true partnership and that there's that synergy in between the two. So we pay for all that. If they really wanted to, and we'll have brokers dotted around as ARs, but we don't have them everywhere. Obviously, we're only a small firm, but we will put an AR in an estate agent's branch for free. So I know some other larger networks charge for that. We don't. But what we normally say is we're not going to put an AR in a branch where you're selling five. You need to be selling 20, 25, 30 properties a month for us to warrant that cost. So
Yeah.
we'll go in, we'll brand a corner of their office with this co-branded Hello Mortgage and whoever it may be, make it look all nice and snazzy, and we'll set a broker there. And that broker will then do that exact same service, but they're face to face rather than over the telephone.
And Keith, geographically, where is your sweet spot? So I know that you are. It would be easier for you to reach branches, I suppose, that are closer to you geographically. Where are
Yes.
you guys based?
So we're based in South Shields, which nobody knows where South Shields is, but it's where the Great North Run ends, just at the mouth of the Tyne. So we're
Okay.
over from Newcastle. We've got a branch based down in Essex, and we've got a branch based down in Manchester. So between Newcastle, Manchester, and Essex, we tend to cover the majority of people from there. We
It's
then have
pretty
ARs,
good coverage, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, who can be more branch specific. But to be fair, we've got very little brokers in branches at the moment. Everyone seems to be happy doing what we're doing, meeting over Zoom,
Yeah.
and having those updates. So it really depends on that agent.
I think it's one of the efficiencies that COVID kind of brought,
Mm.
sped up, if you like, is our,
Mhm.
we very rarely used to use video calls
Yeah,
for anything other than things that we absolutely had to do.
yeah,
But now I find myself doing a lot of appointments on Zoom that are much quicker because we get down to business. You don't have to travel an hour to go and see that person, an hour back again. And I know that they appreciate it as well, as much as I'm sure they'd like to get dressed up and come out and see you.
Yeah.
they can see in the privacy of their own homes, in their gym jams, and get a mortgage by the end of it. I think that's quite decent service, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah. I think people are definitely a lot more relaxed when you video call them versus to when you actually turn up at that home.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we've had
100%.
some pretty weird and wonderful video conferences with people.
I've had a number where people have clearly forgotten
Yeah,
that they're only partially dressed when they stand up. It's a
yeah,
whole other story.
that's what we've experienced.
Oh, good. It's not just me then. It's not just me. Well, Keith, that's been a really useful kind of overview of what you guys do. Is there anything else that you would like our viewers to take away with them today?
I think it's just what I normally say is if it sounds of interest, drop me a call and let me prove it because we don't hide behind anything here at Hello Mortgage. We're very visual. We're constantly there. And that's just what we like to do. We like to say, okay, come on, give us one, give us two. Let us show you how it works. And then once we've demonstrated to you that the service is second to none and the technology works, then we'll onboard you inside you.
I don't think anybody can ask for anything more than that. Very often, the mortgage and finance space in a state agency can be very hectic and fraught, and you guys seem sort of very calm, cool, and collected. So it's a fantastic service, and it's great that it has that combination of tech and also human touch as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me
no
today.
problem. To talk to you.